I've seen a lot of controversy in regards to the Chris drama in Mr. Beast, which personally I don't even think should be a drama. I think it's stupid that people are getting so into it, but I mean, you're arguing over a guy who you haven't even met. But this one video caught my interest. Why Chris will soon be a nightmare for Mr. Beast, and I want to go over it with you guys. I watched this previously, kind of forgot what happened. Everything went through one ear and the other, but I just want to check this out, give my 2 cents, and you guys can do what you will with that information. So let's start it right here.
The Chris Tyson situation could become a complete disaster for MrBeast's brand. However, it may also provide some unique benefits. So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the MrBeast channel. In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential southern gun and truck loving dude. Yet beginning in March 2022, Chris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as "I finally got my nails done at a nail tech." Additionally, Chris would highlight that his
And another side note, I've been seeing a lot of people saying that Chris's sort of transition or his quote unquote gayness was sort of caused by Carl, like Carl from Mr. Beast was converting him, whatever. I just want to go ahead and say that's not. I don't think that's plausible. Um, Gay kids all the time grow up in around straight people and they don't turn straight, they're still gay. So I don't think that, because I don't even think Carl's gay, is he? I think he's just a little bit effeminate. But I don't think Chris being around Carl for like a couple of years is gonna magically cause all the like gender dysphoria and his identity issues. I don't think that's plausible. But I'm sure he's gonna get to it, so I'll let him keep talking.
facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic, which accompanied another post reading, "Okay, so in 4 different customs I had to prove I was myself because I quote look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance?" Prompting replies such as, "You went from man to boy." Chris responded by stating, "Nah, to be honest, I just really started taking my mental health seriously and eating better," yet his
That's just a weird tweet to make. You went from man to boy. I don't know. I don't know. There's some people that are just weird. But that's good. That's good that he's taking his health seriously and all that. I mean, like, it has to be stressful being a part of such a big franchise like Mr. Beast, because it is a franchise at the end of the day. It's not just a channel, and you're representing that franchise, which I could see how your mental health could go, could deteriorate along with having a family and whatnot. But anyways.
His Twitter photos kept insinuating that Chris was becoming more feminine, with this same kind of look showing up in his MrBeast appearances. For example, on the 6th of January 2023, Beast Reacts uploaded a video titled "I strapped a GoPro to a fish," in which Chris dressed in a way that prompted comments such as, "Chris has been adopting more and more traits that remind me of my grandmother." Okay, so some people just gonna ignore Chris's nails? Chris had to have lost a bet.
Okay, so this part, I mean, guys paint their nails all the time. It's not an effeminate trait purely, and I think the middle comment's more of like a joke sort of thing. I don't think they actually intended that to be so I'm sure if they knew the full story it would have been the same comment. Bottom one, yeah.
The look is getting wild. The response to the video then prompted countless viral TikToks, such as this one with 700,000 likes, stating, "How did Chris go from this to this?" While others even made the claim that Carl had turned him gay.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to address. Hold on, let's dial it back a little bit here.
Claim that Carl...
Right there. It's just not true. I mean, sure, there's influences and all that, but Chris is his own person, or rather her, sorry. And it's just ridiculous, honestly. But I also saw some controversy regarding his marriage. It's still hard for me to get used to this. I'm like half awake and just now hearing about this. Does Chris have a new name? I don't know. I gotta look into that. But it's just weird that people really think that Carl influenced Chris like this, because it's a big life decision, and I don't think Carl's not even I shouldn't say as like a fact. I don't believe Carl is gay or bisexual or transgender, none of that. And even then, it doesn't really matter because gender dysphoria is something you're more so born with. Carl didn't give Chris gender dysphoria in a matter of like a year or two. So was it a year or two? It's been a while since Carl was introduced, huh? Huh. I don't know. I don't watch Mr. Beast that often, but yeah, that's just something I wanted to make a note of.
Carl had turned him gay. Now, this was pretty ridiculous as Carl isn't even that feminine, and Chris had come out as bisexual years before he and Carl had
I
even
actually
met.
forgot about this. Chris was already bisexual, like confirmed, came out as bisexual. So the whole argument that Carl turned him gay is just downright stupid because he already they were already comfortable with that like sort of identity of themselves. So that's just ridiculous to me. But yeah, I don't really I don't really understand uh, the feedback in that regard. It's just there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to a side that people want to pick. Carl and this guy confirmed my belief. What's his name? Sunny V2. Yeah. Uh, the fact that Carl isn't even overly feminine or gay or anything. It's not. It's just completely like misconstrued. They're just looking for somebody to blame. So I'm glad he went over that.
Met. The true catalyst for Chris Tyson's feminization instead seemed to have come from his marriage. In January 2022, Chris would post a photo with his wife to his Instagram, yet after this, the family photo stopped altogether. Fans also noticed that he'd removed his wedding ring, with the ring's absence correlating perfectly with the very first post in which he'd painted his nail.
Which, personally, I think it's just nosy that people look into Chris's marriage so deeply. But other than that, let's just see what he has to go into.
Chris confirmed the split in a post from March 2023 reading, "For a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated," with this also confirming that Chris's transformation began as soon as his marriage came to an end. Chris went from lighting campfires and raising a family with his beautiful wife to now trying to be a wife with his man buns and long nails. As the criticism continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's just a lot of negative backlash because gender dysphoria is a real thing. Whether you want to argue against it or not, it has been like psychiatrically researched for a long time. Gender and sex aren't the same things. You could say that this is a new thing. This is not a new thing. It's been in psychology for a long time. I've taken psychology courses over my schooling and whatnot, and it's not something that's new. This has always been a thing. Gender and sex are completely different things. Sex is biological, gender is an identity. It's not, or a social identity, sorry. It's not the same thing, and I'm glad that people are putting more like a spotlight onto that. But yeah, we just need to. I just need to keep on listening because I don't want to say something that I necessarily don't agree with because I don't remember the full story here.
And while there was a possibility that Chris would make efforts to return to his former self, he'd rather do the opposite and double down on his feminine image, showing up to the Kids' Choice Awards looking like this, before making the announcement that he'd been doing HRT for approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders. Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies," which received a positive response from both Carl and Mr. Beast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend." While his co-workers expressed positivity, others weren't so welcoming. There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times.
Okay, first off, this isn't even this guy's business. Let's be real. This is just, again, I'm gonna keep saying this. Why does it matter so much about what another person does when you haven't even met them? Like, it's not harming anybody. It's, or at least you think it's harming his child, their child, and whatnot. It's not. it's not, you don't know that, and you're jumping to conclusions, and I feel like it's just because you yourself just have this natural like disdain towards transgenderism. Um, Now I will say there is issues in being raised by like one parent and whatnot, but their child isn't being raised by one parent. They're still being raised by two parents who are loving and all that. The kid's gonna be fine mentally. It's not. I don't know. We're gonna keep going.
Chris responded to this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love."
Right. And another thing, it's sure the kid would have a father figure if Chris didn't transition. Sure, father figure, whatnot. Yeah, but is it better to have a father figure who has this dysphoria, who's at risk mentally, who could even harm themselves over their identity? And would you rather the kid look up to them? Like that doesn't seem right. That I feel like Chris transitioning might have been the best decision for the child because Chris would be struggling with this mental identity, sort of this self-loathing almost. I'd say I don't want to speak for Chris, but they could, and yeah, it's just yeah, it's a lot of sort of issues with that statement. It's not correct at all.
I know I'm going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker.
Exactly, I agree with that.
Response received some positivity such as, "I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision. It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet he'd also receive an equal amount of backlash. You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house. A life full of difference and being alone. Must have missed the point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure? Although..."
Okay, let's run it back here. Again, would you rather have a father figure who's going through this depression, who has this horrible gender struggle, this horrible identity crisis at all times around their child, probably leaving little room to actually care and love for their child? Or would you rather just have a transgender mother? Like it's the choice is kind of blatant here. Let's see this one. You get torn apart at school, won't have friends in his life. Okay, I'm not gonna lie that there's still a lot of discrimination. There's always gonna be discrimination no matter what. There's nothing you could do to change that. You could repress it, you could minimize it, but you can't completely eliminate discrimination. It's always gonna be there. Humans are born to fight each other. It's just how it is. It's human nature. But at the end of the coin, it's not a definitive sort of fate. I want to say like Tucker, I believe his kid's name is. Sorry, not his. This guy's confusing me in the video. Keeps using his. Chris's son isn't going to have any friend to be alone. I think sure there's going to be some issues that could arise in school, but I don't think it's going to lead to a point where Chris's son is going to be alone forever during school, and his life is going to be full of difference, as this guy said. I don't think that's possible per se. Not everybody is sort of full of hatred and whatnot. And Chris is a good parent from what I've seen. I believe Chris would definitely put Tucker in an environment that's both safe for him and safe for the mentality of the household. And I believe we have one more Up here, you ripped apart your family and took a regular away from your son just so you could paint your nails, and I just see pathetic. Again, I addressed this so many times. It seems like everybody's going for this one point. Father figure who's depressed, hates himself, all of that, or a transgender mother. It's blatant. It's really blatant. It's ridiculous. And again, painting nails. I don't get why everybody goes to this point. Painting nails is not. It's not. It's not like a fucking. It's not a fucking like transgender defying thing. Like I know people who paint their nails all the time and they're straight. Like that's just. That's just a sort of appearance decision. But you know. All right, let's get back here.
Him of a father figure, although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, "It's never too late to start being yourself," which received praise from Mr. Beast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also added extra fuel to the fire. In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends, only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe.
Don't know where to begin with this one. Okay. First off, I don't think supporting your friend is a yes man coward thing. I mean, it's not any of your business to get into what they're doing in their own identity. You can't change somebody's identity for them. So that's already I'm not agreeing with that statement. Hope you come out of this safe like it's a mental issue. Dysphoria is sort of a how should I put it, like a mental struggle, but I don't think transgenderism itself is a mental illness. We haven't looked into transgenderism nearly as much as we did in other subjects in psychology, but transgenderism is still being thoroughly researched. Gender dysphoria is recognized as a real struggle in sort of mental issue, and we're looking into the process of transgenderism and what it does to the mind and whatnot. It's not a definite negative thing to go through. In fact, people becoming even more happy after the whole process and transition is a pretty telltale sign that something's going right over there, so we're looking into it more. It's just it's crazy. Oh, this guy's official too. Damn.
Mr. Beast responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, "I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life." In some ways, it was nice to see the boys standing up for Chris on Twitter. However, the situation has already begun to change the dynamic within the videos. For example, in a recent livestream titled "Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes," Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does. It felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh my god, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. It looks just like you.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, it's Jimmy.
How did fan art? This is what we were looking for.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I think that's more so just looking into the context a little much. Cause I've seen plenty of people make jokes about like another person. I mean, it's just like looking at like a picture. Okay, so like obviously Jimmy is an anime girl. Obviously, that's the joke. It's making him like sort of like acting like this picture of him, of an anime girl, is him, and it's just, we've seen these jokes like since the dawn of time. I think it's just looking into the context a little bit much, but anyways.
Be brave, be honest, be kind, Mr. Beast. That is my tagline.
Becoming even weirder when each member started to pay each other compliments.
Hey, nice shirt. Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
For the most part, the live stream was devoid of awkward moments. However, it would act as
Wait, why was that pointed out? I didn't even understand. That just seemed like a little, a little gimmick there. But okay. I mean, I guess it could have been like a spawn of awkwardness. But I don't really understand why that was pointed out. I don't feel like that directly related to the situation.
As fodder for another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism. Chris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time, but is this really going to happen? Well, maybe. It's difficult to say as the situation is fairly unique, especially when considering Chris's reputation and influence. However, if Chris continues to transition, would it be unreasonable to say that he could jeopardize some of the personality traits which made him a successful member in the first place? Perhaps the opposite will happen, and he'll instead pick up new personality traits that better resonate with the current MrBeast audience. This was put forward in many comments supportive of Chris.
I don't know. It's just a personal nitpick. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I just don't. I don't like the way Sonny is phrasing these sort of things. I don't know. It's making Chris feel like a product more than anything. I mean, I agree that making this big decision could change like a big part of the MrBeast franchise as a whole. I don't know about phrasing it as if Chris is a product, but that's just a personal nitpick. It just seems a little off.
Who implied that there'll be millions of queer kids who look up to him, although this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll add any value to the videos. MrBeast has likely
and Sonny's right here. It's gonna be a definite like shift in the audience for sure, because you're gonna have the people who don't tolerate that, don't agree with that, shift out, and the people who do sort of support it and agree, like sweep in. There's gonna be a definite shift in the audience. Is it gonna be beneficial? It's hard to tell. Is it gonna be negative? It's hard to tell. But at the end of the day, it's what's best for Chris mentally, and I'm sure this is milestones ahead of what could happen if Chris decided to not transition and stay with this dysphoria and mental struggle.
Cultivated a massive LGBT audience, all of whom are already watching anyway, and if we've learned anything from Hollywood in recent years, it's that adding over-the-top LGBT characters for the sake of relatability.
What? Okay, I don't know where to begin with this. This isn't a movie or a show. This is real life. I don't think Chris transitioned just for the sake of it. I will be honest. I don't think the plot's that riveting to cause that. But yeah, Chris is not pushing this for character development or good story or entertainment. I think this is more of a personal decision, and whatever happens, happens.
Ability rarely works as intended and is often nothing more than a distraction from the premise of the movie or video. On top of this, it can be uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority, although as we have seen, a situation like Chris's does have the potential to create an otherworldly amount of discussion, which could be seen as a benefit for the MrBeast brand.
Drama is good for growth, 100%. That would be an easy way to up my
So you're
if
a
I got
Keemstar
it.
The problem is this type of situation is probably the last thing that MrBeast wants to attract.
So, okay, I don't know where to begin with this. I'm not completely against what they said here, the whole cancellation thing. I'm going to tell you why. Twitter is a clusterfuck. We've all known this for the longest time. Clister is horrid at addressing points at anything, and cancellation is honestly a shitty way of conveying your point or pushing a side. I feel like cancellation actually does the opposite, because it makes you seem like an ignorant dumbass who basically, it's like you're shoving sort of your view down their throat. Now, I agree that Chris should have become transgender. I said that time and time again. And yeah, MrBeast has the right to express his opinion and whatever, and have whatever consequences come with that. But I think there's the Twitter side of things, the people who are just waiting. They're sitting there in like their little fucking straw hut, their little mud hut, and like hiding in the trees and shit, waiting for a moment to where MrBeast can say something that they could just take out of proportions and like make it into this like sort of bizarre like hate speech or whatnot. I agree with uh, Mr. Beast not being able to say much without being canceled, but it's not because Mr. Beast is against it or anything. I think it's a fault of the Twitter community as a whole. It's not a fault of Chris or Mr. Beast or anything. But I just wanted to address that.
As he's forced to agree with Chris's position, as he has no way of manipulating the situation without being painted as the bad guy. It's a lose-lose situation for Mr. Beast. I think Jimmy is in an inescapable situation. If he kicks out Chris, cancelled. If he don't, his channel will die for real.
Okay. I think if he doesn't, first off, I don't agree that his channel will die. Second, I mean he still has a huge channel, and I mean like it's gonna be a shift in audience, sure, but it's still gonna have an audience at the end of the day. And if he kicks us out Cross, apparently, if he kicks out Chris, I mean sure, during this timing it's gonna look like that, yeah, 100%, and it's gonna look very, very suspicious, and he would get into some deep water with that. However, again, Chris isn't a product. Chris is their own person, and Chris makes their own decisions. And just the fact that people think that Mr. Beast has to kick Chris out, like if Chris's bad product, is just ridiculous. But
An inescapable situation is a pretty good way of describing the drama, which is also why it deserves the harsh label of being a nightmare. Jimmy has no option but to publicly express acceptance of Chris's transition, as silence or even worse.
I think it's just hard to adjust. I mean, sure, a lot of times transitioning, yeah, it is a big decision for the person, but it's also a sort of a big adjustment to the people around the person that's transitioning. Now, am I disencouraging transitioning? No, if you genuinely feel like you aren't happy with the person you are, then by all means, go and get the help you need. But I think it's just gonna take a little bit more time for Mr. Beast to adjust. Like, for an example, during this video, I was using the wrong pronouns, which I partly think it's because of the video, but at the same time, I also got to say, it is hard to adjust to, and I think it's going to take a lot of time to get used to it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't have to happen. Like, Chris still has to transition. Not has to, but still wants to transition at the end of the day, so...
disapproval would come with obvious severe repercussions. However, in accepting Chris's transition, Jimmy implies that this will be the new normal within the content, thus annoying a different group of people, many of whom will never express their true feelings and may rather simply click on fewer Mr. Beast videos. If this is the case, Jimmy has no option but to accept this fate, as removing Chris from the videos in any kind of way could create an even more severe media firestorm. The only clean solution, should things go south, might be for Chris to resign himself, and even then rumors and bad press will be unavoidable. Whether it be arrogance or ignorance.
Okay, again, Chris doesn't have to leave the franchise. They're not gonna die because of it. They're definitely gonna lose some views and maybe gain some, but they're not gonna die. If the channel was that fragile, like on such fragile foundation, then it wouldn't be up to this day. So that's just ridiculous to me.
Chris seems oblivious to how this whole thing might impact Jimmy, forgetting that he achieved his current level of success by avoiding this exact type of drama.
Alright. Although I necessarily don't agree with a lot of the points made, I'll still respect it. I think this video could have been harmful in a few different ways. Just the way it was sort of viewing Chris as more of a product than a human. I just keep going back to that point because it's something I do genuinely believe. It was a bit misconstrued. Yeah. Let's look in the comments a bit. Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's definitely a big adjustment to a lot of people, but it's just, it's, at the end of the day, it's still healthy. It's still healthier for Chris. and eventually everybody is gonna sort of get used to the new Chris, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that's good. It's just gonna take some time. Like obviously, Mr. Beast is gonna be very taken aback at first, but he's slowly gonna get back into it, and he's gonna feel a lot more comfortable. And it's not that Mr. Beast is transphobic or anything. It's just a big, big adjustment to have. I agree. Yeah, it was very odd. It seems like he was being treated as an actor more than anything. Mm. Yeah, there's a lot of heat from this video. It was something. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. But this is the most important comment of all. Exactly. Exactly what I'm thinking throughout this whole controversy. Yeah, but anyways, I just think it's a pretty stupid argument. It's none of our business, anyways. You're arguing about a guy you've never met and you're never gonna met, and you're arguing about friends who actually met that guy, making decisions to support them. So I think it's just stupid. That's all I had to say. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe. I got a couple of videos coming out uh, in regards to more like commentary videos and whatnot. If you like it, just make sure to check it out. That's all. This was stupid. See you guys.